How's it going, you guys? Welcome back to another video. If you couldn't already tell by the title, today we're going to be breaking down everything that you need to buy to completely reseal and refresh your 2JZ GE VVTi. If you watched my last video, you know that I've got a pretty substantial front main seal leak along with my camshaft seals and my VVTi gear. It's all leaking. Car's got about 105,000 miles, and I don't think that stuff has ever been done. So it's kind of to be expected. You know, it's a 20-year-old car, so it kind of just comes with the territory. You know, I'm really happy actually that it is happening now, because I'm gonna be able to get it done before I boost the engine, and I would much rather have it done, get the peace of mind, and know that it's gonna be solid and ready for boost. This whole video is gonna be breaking down every single part that you need to completely refresh and reseal your 2JZ GE. And I'll have a link to every single one of these parts in the description. So if you're curious about any of this stuff, if you need any of it for yourself, there's gonna be a full parts list in the description, so make sure that you check that out. This video, I will not be talking about the rear main seal or the head gasket. So when I did my manual swap, we replaced my rear main. Unless I want more than 400 wheel horsepower, I don't think I'm ever gonna change the head gasket. If I do, it'll just be to a 2JZ GTE MLS head gasket. But for the meantime, my head gasket's perfectly fine. So this video is gonna be breaking down everything on the front and top of the engine. So I spent $828.55 on Drift Motion. There were a few things that I couldn't get from Drift Motion that I ordered from toyotapartsdeal.com. Also another great resource. And then I forgot to order my crankshaft bolt when I placed this massive order from Drift Motion. So I got my crankshaft bolt from my local Toyota dealership, but it was still about the same price. All right, so right off the bat, in order to get to the things that are leaking on my engine, which are the cam seals, the VVTi gear, and the front main seal, you have to literally disassemble the entire front of the engine. So, because that's happening, there's absolutely no reason that you shouldn't just replace everything on the front of the engine as well if it hasn't already been done at some point in time recently. Because we're gonna have everything out of the way and off of the car, I'm gonna be replacing my water pump, because I don't know if it's ever been done, and if it was, I don't know how long ago. So this is the complete water pump assembly for the 2JZ GE in the IS300 and GS300. So the water pump is actually two pieces. You can either buy just the front half or just the back half. This is the complete water pump. It comes with all of the necessary seals and gaskets that you need for it right here in the box, which is awesome. This is the front half, this is the back half. I bought the complete assembly. Second thing, going along with the water pump, I don't even know how to explain it, but there's a small little section that's got like a funnel tube almost, and it sits up against the water pipe and then the block. In between that is this little thing that's called the water pipe. It's a pretty common failure point for these O-rings to go bad when you're doing your water pump, or if you're doing your water pump. Just get this too. I'm pretty sure the water pump actually comes with the little O-rings for this, but I got this anyway, just in case. Since I've got to take the timing belt off to access the cam gears and crank gear, there's absolutely no reason not to do the timing belt. So this is an OEM Toyota timing belt for a 2JZ GE or GTE. The timing is exactly the same. This is gonna be compatible with your 2JZ GE and GTE, both VVTi and non-VVTi. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but it comes with a sticker so that you can mark down the date, the time, and the mileage reading on it. Do this. Branching off the timing belt really quick. This is a Koyo OEM timing belt idler pulley, and this is an OEM NTN timing belt tensioner. Both very crucial. Make sure you do these when you do your timing belt. And also, it's just a good idea and a good rule of thumb to replace the timing belt idler, pulley, belt, and the washer. Next up, something that wasn't really necessary, but I decided to go for it just because it makes it a hell of a lot better of a car overall. I got Drift Motion's single mass, one-piece billet aluminum crankshaft pulley. If you don't already know, the 2JZ crankshaft pulley from the factory is two-piece, and there's just like a rubber gasket in between that keeps the two halves held together. That's a very common failure point. The front portion is actually what has all the ribs and the ridges for your serpentine belt. If you own any car that has a JZ, very highly recommend getting a single-piece pulley. It's just a no-brainer. Otherwise, you're gonna be replacing them over and over and over. And this is also only $60. 6061 billet aluminum, and it's also got the holes drilled out and tapped for a crankshaft removal or crankshaft pulley removal tool, which is super cool. Obviously it's keyed for the crankshaft. And then there's also, yeah, right there, there's a timing mark for it. So just like your factory pulley, you've got a timing mark. The factory 2JZ crankshaft pulley weighs 9 pounds. This weighs 1 pound. And again, it's single piece, so it's not gonna split. It's not gonna send one part of it flying out from under your car while you're sitting at 7,000 RPM. So, billet crankshaft pulley. I would say that upgrading the crankshaft pulley on every 2JZ is just something that you should do regardless. Branching off of the crankshaft pulley, as far as I know, I've been told that the crankshaft bolt is single use. So, whenever you do any kind of work, if you have to take the crankshaft bolt off, make sure you replace it. I picked this up from my local Toyota dealership and it was like $16 after tax. Next up, because we're gonna be in there doing all this stuff, I got a new serpentine belt and I also got the idler tensioner. So serpentine belt, idler tensioner, just do them. It's really cheap. I think this is maybe $110, $100, and this is like 25 bucks or something. Just do it. It's necessary. So since we're in there, I'm just gonna do my spark plugs as well. We're gonna have the valve covers off. So why not do the spark plugs? We're refreshing all the seals and gaskets. Might as well make sure that we're getting proper spark and combustion. So NGK laser iridium spark plugs. Now we get into the seals, the gaskets, all that good stuff. So now we're at the point where we've got all the other random stuff out of the way. I'm doing all of that just because I want to, since we're gonna be there. You don't necessarily need to do all that stuff, but you have to take all of it off just to get to what we're about to do. So you might as well just replace it while you're there. Otherwise, you're gonna have to go through all of this again. So like I said, in order to get the cam gears off, you have to take the valve covers off. We're gonna replace the valve cover gaskets because I don't think they're leaking, but it's a common point for a leak. They leak all the time. Just do them. They're really cheap. I think it was $25 for both of these. They also come with these little rubber valve cover seal washers. So you want to make sure that you get these as well. You're going to need 16 of them if you have a 2JZ, or any JZ, I believe is 16 bolts in total, but I know that I needed 16. So if you're doing this on a JZ, you will need 16 of these, along with those valve cover gaskets and the little seals. I'm just going to replace the bolts too. None of them are broken or need replacing necessarily, but I think these were like 80 cents a piece or something, so I'm just gonna replace them because I'm there, why not? So in order to get to the valve covers and to get the valve covers off, you have to, like I said, remove that upper crossover intake pipe. Along with that, you have to take off this gasket, which sits in between that upper crossover pipe and the section that comes up from the side of the head. So this is one of the throttle body or intake manifold gaskets. And then you're also gonna need to do, if you're taking it off, which I'm just gonna replace it because why not? This is an OEM 2JZ GE throttle body gasket. This thing is not cheap. I think after tax and shipping, it was like, I think just this itself was probably close to $40 or $50. It's very thick. It's actually got a considerable amount of weight to it, so just do it. It's worth it. Last but finally not least, the whole reason that we are here, the entire reason that I spent $900 and bought all of these other parts, is for this culmination of seals and gaskets worth like $30. Oh God, that's depressing. First off, starting at the top of the engine, we've got our camshaft seals. To be completely honest, I don't know if mine are leaking, but I'm not gonna take the risk and assume that they're not. Just gonna replace them anyway. Camshaft seals, OEM, I think on every JZ engine, they're the same. So just do them. After that, we have our VVTi rebuild kit. So the VVTi gear on VVTi equipped engines, it's a 2-piece gear. It's just a 5-bolt front section, and once you pull that off, this little O-ring and seal, unfortunately, are very common failure points. So if you've got oil leaking out of them. It's $14 for this rebuild kit. Just get it, just do it. It's very simple. And finally, the entire reason that we're here, the main culprit of my massive oil leak, front main seal. So this is an OEM Toyota front main seal for a JZ. I think it's 12, 14, 20 bucks, something like that. This is the whole reason that I spent all this money on all these parts. This is the whole reason that we're doing all of this, is to replace this guy right here. So yeah, in order to get to the front main seal, you have to remove literally everything on the front of the engine, which is why I just bought all the other stuff that I did. This is the one little culprit right here. Crazy. That's everything. So, all that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was just me yapping the whole time, but this is a quick overview of everything that you will need to reseal, to refresh, get your 2JZ GE up to speed, get it running properly again, keep it from having any issues if you do this properly. You know, hopefully keep it from sprouting leaks or any kind of issues for many more miles to come. Like I said, my car's got 105,000 miles. It just happens with time, especially since the car just sat in California for 2 months while I was up here in Washington. You know, things dry out and they shrink and they crack, and then when they are introduced to heat again, they don't really seal what they're supposed to, so oil can kind of just seep through the little cracks and holes. I will have a link and part numbers for every single one of these things in the description below, so if you need any of that stuff, there's a full description list built out. Make sure that you check that out. In the next video, I'm just going to start tearing everything down, and I'm going to document the whole process. Since I'm in my own garage, I've got my own time, and I'm not working on anyone else's schedule or in anyone else's space. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to document every single bit of the process. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative and that you got something from it. If you enjoyed, make sure you drop a sub down below. Thank you so much for all of your support. Follow me on Instagram if you're not already. And I will see you guys in the next video when I start tearing into my engine so that we can start replacing all of this stuff. But for right now, I'm just going to continue to look at it on the floor. All right, well, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Shoots.